What's up, bitches?
Let's talk about crime.
What's up, bitches?
Hello.
We're here. We're here to talk about true crime, spooky, true crime stuff. No, I'm just kidding. We're here to talk about the things we always talk about, which is always a surprise. It's either a true crime, an unsolved mystery, or a spooky paranormal thing. You never know. You never know what you're going to get until we start talking about it. To be honest with you, I don't really have anything to talk about as far as true crime currently goes. And part of that is because I kind of have turned off news. I don't really want to watch it right now. Our world sucks. So I don't really want to watch what's going on. I want to just stay in my own little bubble. So I'm not paying attention to the current true crime news right now. So if there's anything you know of, feel free to share, but also, we're just here to talk about the things that we're here to talk about. Do you have anything that you want to say before we get into what we're talking about today?
No.
Okay, here we go. What are we talking about today, you ask? Well, that's a really good question. We are talking about Estes Park in Colorado. In 1909 is when the Stanley Hotel first opens. So we're talking about the Stanley Hotel. Now, this hotel is what inspired Stephen King's The Shining. Have you seen The Shining?
Maybe that's where I've heard about it from, because you told me it was the Stanley Hotel.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I've heard of the Stanley Hotel, but now that's what I'm almost wondering. I've never seen The Shining, but I almost wonder if that's where I've heard the connection of that it was The Shining was inspired by that hotel.
So,
like, I'm almost wondering if that's when I said, "Oh, I know what that is."
I didn't know. So I didn't know that. I had no idea. But what I will tell you is, I have never read The Shining. I have watched the movie, and I fell asleep twice in it.
Wow.
And then I tried watching it again, and I did watch it. It's weird. It's weird. I mean, I encourage you someday, Sierra, if you just take a peek, take a gander at the movie, but it's most definitely not the scariest of movies, and you would know that because I'm not a scary movie person, and I'm able to watch it. It's a psychological thriller, really.
I've heard it's boring, so
it is kind of boring.
I think that's part of why I've never watched it.
It is kind of boring
because I like the scary movies that are gonna make me like question my life choices and make me possibly not sleep at night or have fucking nightmares.
No, it's not that. Well, maybe have nightmares off of this.
The only one that's done that for me is the Blair Witch Project. That is the only one that's done that for me.
That's the dumbest fucking movie. That's the dumbest fucking movie. The Blair Witch Project scared the shit out of me, but I was in high school when I watched it.
To be fair, my ex-boyfriend told me that it was based on a true story, which is what scared me even fucking more.
Right. Well, when it came out, they tried to, everybody thought it was based on a true story.
Oh, that's what you were, because I remember you and I talking about that.
I lived in a house that backed up to the woods. So that's why it was so scary.
I live in the woods. So,
however, after I found out that it was never based on a true story, I was like, this is the dumbest fucking movie.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It made it to where finding out afterwards that it's not a true story made it less scary. But that was the one that I can continually tell people before I knew the truth. That one fucked me up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it also, what's weird about that movie, if you've never seen it, it's not a spoiler, but it like there's scary shit that happens in sounds and stuff, but there's nothing that jumps out at you. Right. So you're like anticipating and then nothing.
Yeah.
And so like your heart rate fucking accelerates and then all of a sudden you're like, fuck, nothing.
But how would you feel to be the person or the people who starred in that movie? Like after they started the movie, like they could never star in anything again because it was supposed to be a true story. It was not based on a true story. They had you believing that this was a documentary, that they found this tape in the woods and they had found it, and this is what they found on the tape. So if you were somebody who starred in that movie, you could never be a movie star, because if anybody recognized you, they would know that the Blair Witch Project
I'm sure
was
they could
fake.
Obviously now, but like
I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? Like when you first signed up for that project, there was probably like,
I bet you they probably had to say like 5
years.
Yeah, like you have a certain time frame where you can't.
If you've never seen the Blair Witch Project, like go ahead and watch it.
Yeah.
But it's not a true story. It's filmed like it's a true story, and the ending to it makes you really think it's a true story.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's like you really do go, oh my God. But then you find out.
That's what I'm saying. When I had him
I found out, so I was in high school when it came out, and for probably like a year, I was like, oh my God. And then I found out it was all fake, and I was like, now I feel like an idiot. Anyways. So we are talking about, again, the Stanley Hotel. So we're going to start with a little background. So this starts with a man named Freelan Oscar Stanley. Now, he was an inventor who was very, very ill, and he was actually suffering from tuberculosis. Rumors had it that he was basically on his deathbed. And he decides to travel to the Estes Valley in hopes of getting better from like the fresh air, the sunshine. It's like a mountainous area. And so he was like, well, maybe if I get away from my life and focus on just me, myself, and I live away from the city, away from pollution and all that stuff, maybe I can get better. Now, at this time, again, Estes Valley was just a mountain with beautiful landscapes, mountain streams, meadows, and it was also the home to the Ute and Arapaho tribes. So it was a very just beautiful place to be. Now, after just one summer of staying in this valley, he was actually better. He said that he believes that it was due to the sunshine and the fresh air of the valley that he got better, which is crazy because a lot of people died from tuberculosis back in the day, but he got better. So Freelan and his wife Flora, they decide at this point that they want to open a hotel in the valley because it's just a beautiful place and he doesn't want to go back to city life. Now his plan is it's going to be this luxurious, huge hotel. So in 1909, the hotel officially opens and the guests are shocked at how beautifully exquisite this hotel is. And it is frickin' ginormous. It is surrounded by wilderness, but yet somehow had telephones, electricity, modern bathrooms, a concert hall. It had maids, it had cooking staff. They all had uniforms and everything. And again, this is in 1909 when this was, electricity alone was not, I don't even think all the homes had electricity at that time. So for decades, the hotel is deemed as a posh, exclusive Mountain West destination. And it is said to have provided a restful, rejuvenating break for people, especially people who lived in the busy East Coast lifestyle. Because again, you have to remember, this is early 1900s, then 1920s, 30s, 40s, where, New York and the East Coast was popping. And so people would actually travel to Colorado to go to the Stanley Hotel to take a break from city life. Now, June of 1911, there is a terrible, and horrible gas explosion that happens in room 217. Now, a housekeeper named Elizabeth Wilson, she's actually in the room at the time. And the thing was, because there was electricity in this hotel when it was built with a peculiar, not your typical way of doing things. There was a lot of gas related things to run the hotel because it was in the middle of the mountains. And he was, again, Freelan was an inventor. So he found ways to basically run this hotel with electricity and stuff, but he used gas to basically do whatever, run pieces of the hotel. So there had been some sort of a gas leak or something that was below room 217. But in the moment, Elizabeth Wilson is in the room. She's basically cleaning the room, or she might have actually been doing the turn down service where she's going in, getting it ready for the guests to come back to their room and be ready for bed. She goes to light a lamp that's in the room and pakablooey, the room explodes. Now, she is severely injured. She actually falls down. So she's on the second floor. She falls down to like the basement. That's how.
Or she didn't die?
She did not die.
What the fuck?
She did not die. She was severely injured, but she did not die. Now, Freeland actually helped pay for all of her medical care and made sure that she was okay. And she ended up coming back from it, and she continued to work for the hotel after that until 1950.
No.
And then she died in like 1952 or 1954. Also in 1911, a boiler actually had malfunctioned in the basement, and it leads to a fire in the basement as well. Now, this is actually where staff would often go to get away from guests, like to take a break, and that area gets completely engulfed in flames. Now, in 1920, there are also some more fires, but they ruin nearby cabins. They don't ruin the actual hotel, but there's fires that break out. Then in 1930, Flora Stanley, she actually suffers a stroke while she's in the ballroom. And in 1970, by 1970, the hotel has now fallen into disrepair. This is just due to years of neglect and lack of investment. So again, you have to remember 1970, the hotel opened in 1909. So this hotel is like 61 years old at this point. However, it's not being upkept. and the people who would be investing in it aren't investing in it. Freelan, Flora, they obviously aren't taking care of it anymore. I don't even think Freelan and Flora is not alive anymore. I don't think Freelan was alive either at this point. And so it's like by 1970, this has become a hotel that was once a beautiful, luxurious hotel, and it's now like could basically be demolished. By 1997, there's somebody or people who have actually bought the hotel, and they're now doing renovations to try to reinvent this hotel. And while they're in the hotel, workers actually find old items in the hotel, like children's shoes from the 1910s in the attic. So they're
cool though.
Yeah, they're uncovering really cool stuff there. Now, there are not any recorded mass tragedies in this hotel. However, this hotel has a ton of reported hauntings, which is weird because normally a hotel would have people who had died in the hotel haunting it. That is not the case with this hotel. There is not a bunch of people who have died in this hotel, but yet it is a place that is like actually very haunted. So we're going to start with the hauntings, or we're going to talk about the hauntings. We're going to start with room 217, the one that had the explosion, which you would think would be like, but she didn't die. You would think Elizabeth would be the one, but she didn't die. Okay. Now, there is a thought that the spirit of Elizabeth Wilson is in this room, though. Even though she did not die here, she did die in 1952. And after she passed away, these things started happening in this room. So there have been reportings of lamps that would just turn on and off on their own in this room. Sometimes people will find orange peels in their room, which actually was reported to be Elizabeth's favorite snack. There was at one point that a maid ran from the room because she said that she saw the bed sheets tuck themselves in after she had just made the bed. So she made the bed and then the bed sheets untucked and remade, as if Elizabeth was like, bitch, you did that wrong. A couple who had been on their honeymoon, they stayed in room 217, and they found that they went up to the room, put their suitcases in the room, went back downstairs to do some, whatever, to explore. When they went back up to their room, they found that their suitcases had been magically unpacked and their clothes were folded neatly and put away. Now, there's another guest.
Okay, that one I could argue, though. Did somebody go up there and do that? I mean,
sure, you could, but nobody does that. People don't, normally you can pay somebody to do that, and they did not pay for that. So somebody just did it. There was another guest who actually took a photo while they're staying in room 217 to show. And in the photo, you can see a misty figure that's near the wardrobe in the room. People who have stayed in the room that are unmarried couples, so boyfriend and girlfriends, they have reported feeling a cold force between their bodies in their bed when they're trying to sleep. There's bachelor men who have found their suitcases are packed up and left outside of the room after, like they will go into the room, unpack, and then they come back and their suitcase is outside the room completely packed, as if Elizabeth is like, no, sir, you're a dick. Get out of here. There have also been strange spikes of energy reported. So they've had people who are like ghost hunters and stuff go into the room, and they do actually bring in those, what are those electromagnetic things that they bring in?
I don't know what they're called, but I know what you're talking about.
And they have some really strange spikes of energy that they have found in there. Now, here is a fun fact about room 217. Stephen King and his wife Tabitha stayed at the Stanley Hotel. They stayed in room 217. Now, apparently, Stephen had a nightmare while sleeping in this room. This nightmare was that Stephen, in his dream, was watching his young son being chased throughout the hotel by a live fire hose. Okay, so this fire hose is chasing his little son all through this hotel. The hose eventually captures his son, wraps around his son, and swallows his son whole. That was his nightmare.
And that's what made you think of The Shining?
He gets
Sir
up.
Stephen?
He gets up in a fucking... Well, first of all, it was like a snake fight. Like the hose was like a snake. Like, so basically what it was is they're in this hotel. This nightmare is taking place in this hotel where a fire hose comes to life as a snake, chases and kills his son. And he watches it. Because a lot of the times you wake up before somebody dies in your dreams. So to watch your son be killed, I don't really think I could... That would scare the shit out of me. But you wake up, he wakes up and he's literally sweating profusely. He wakes up in a ball of sweat. He gets up, goes, stands at the window, starts smoking a cigarette. And that is when he started thinking about what this dream could be. And that was the day he started thinking about and writing in his brain The Shining. So that's how it started. Which again, if you've never seen The Shining, if you've never seen The Shining, it won't make sense. But if you've seen The Shining,
I feel like I need to watch it now.
I'll preface this. So The Shining is about a guy who takes his family to this hotel, and he's a writer, and he's in this hotel, and he basically goes fucking psychologically crazy. And he's got his son and his wife, and he tries to kill his family. So because he goes crazy, and there's all kinds of weird shit. There's hallucinations and shit that happen in the movie. So you really should go watch it, because that would make more sense to you if you watched it. So that's room 217. Now there's also room 428. Now room 428 is said to host a friendly cowboy ghost. There have been reports of being kissed on the forehead by this ghost. He has reportedly sat in the corner of the room, or he'll pace the floor, and you can see him. A woman actually had reported seeing a bearded man wearing a cowboy hat at the foot of her bed, and she tried to approach him, and he disappeared. And then she noticed after that her husband's boots had been moved to the closet, which they were not prior to that. One couple saw the cowboy in the room and asked him to leave the room because they wanted to be in this room without a ghost, and he politely obliged and left. He just disappeared. Now, another couple said that they saw the same figure. So they're all describing the same man. They're describing this man who is in a cowboy hat. He's bearded and he's nice. He's not mean at all. He's a gentle ghost. Okay. This couple says they see the same figure. And when they see him, they also smell pipe tobacco. And then their luggage was arranged overnight while they were sleeping. So they woke up in the morning and their luggage was completely different than it was the night before. There have also been reports of unexplained energy readings in this room, and mysterious sighs have been captured on recording. So the ghost hunters will sit in the room recording and stuff, and they will hear sighing coming from somebody, but they don't know who. Now, no one knows who this cowboy is on record, but he is reported to be a friendly ghost. And there is one person that most people believe it to be. So most people believe that this is a man named James Nugent. And he was actually a prospector who was killed in 1874, literally right by where the hotel stands now.
Well, I was going to say, my thought is that hotel wasn't there forever. So what happened before the hotel?
Well,
that's my thought went.
There was Native American tribes there, and there was like a small town there. There was a hotel.
Cowboys were a thing.
Well, and there was a hotel. There was a little tiny hotel there prior, like in that area. Mm-hmm. So again, I think that's where most of these hauntings come from. Right. The land is not, I mean, there's maybe some ghosts connected to the land, and the hotel was built on top of the land. Well, think about
it. I mean, I'm still like 50-50 on if I believe the ghost stuff. I feel like I have to like see it for myself. Yeah. Like all these stories like sound cool, but to me they're just stories until I experience it myself. But that's just who I am. But it makes me think of dude, my fucking brain's toasted today. I don't know what is wrong with me. It makes me think, I think there are some ghost hunters out there that talk about like if you spend a long period of time in a certain place, like it makes me think of the Elizabeth girl. She spent most of her time probably in that hotel. Yeah. So for her, when she passes away, her like afterlife is in that hotel.
It makes total sense, right?
Like yours would probably be Disneyland. Let's be real.
I could be a real ghost on Haunted Mansion.
Exactly. Or
pirates. I could literally be chilling with Captain Barbossa, like on the boat, and be like, you'll see me every once in a while.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, baby. Now, that's room 428. Now, there's also room 418 and the whole entire fourth floor. Okay. So the fourth floor in particular is reportedly to have ghost children up there. And it says that these ghost children like to play games with the people who are staying specifically in room 418. So they actually, so again, this is a reference to The Shining, so you'll know this. So in The Shining, there is a point where there are two, and I'm sure I already can tell you've seen this on like clips of other things, but there's two twin girls that are standing in a hallway. Mm-hmm. That's The Shining. So it is said that the twins that are in The Shining are based on the children ghosts of the fourth floor. Okay. Now, these children like to play with objects in room 418. They also reportedly like to flicker the lights in room 418. They will take the hangers in 418 and move them all around the room. And some have reported that their covers are being ripped off of them while they sleep at night, which is really actually funny because when I was in New Orleans, we went on a ghost vampire tour, and there was a house that my mom and I were looking at that was a hotel that had been a boys' home that had burned and children died in it. And in that hotel, people say the same thing. These boys, they play tricks on you and they'll rip the covers off of you, and you'll hear them. You'll hear them. It's creepy. It creeped me the fuck out, but it was kind of cool. So I could see that. There was a 4-year-old girl at one point that was staying in room 418 with her mother. And she told her mom that a young boy had tickled her in the middle of the night. And she said, but he left after I asked him to please stop. Now I'm going to tell you right now, little kids see fucking spirits. Little kids can see ghosts. I 100% believe that. I think that sometimes when you have kids who have imaginary friends, I do think it's a ghost. That I 100% believe. If a little kid is coming up to you and saying, yeah, there was a little boy tickling me in the middle of the night and I said, please stop, and he ended up leaving, I'm believing that little kid. Now, on the 4th floor altogether, there are reports of children laughing, children running, and you can hear their footsteps. You can hear giggling. And when you walk through the 4th floor, you will actually feel little hands tugging on your clothing. Now, there has also been recordings of electronic voice phenomena, right? The EVPs that people bring in, and the recording is saying, let's play. That creeps me the fuck out. I'm going to tell you, that creeps me. I know they're children, but that creeps me the fuck out. Now, there's also a concert hall in this hotel. Now, the concert hall is actually reported to be one of the most paranormal active places in the hotel. Now, there have been reports of employees dying in or around this area. So this is only one of the only areas that they actually have reports of people dying around that area that could explain maybe why it's haunted. There are reports of hearing ghosts while you're in there. You can feel the ghosts touching you. There is specifically a man named Paul who actually worked at the hotel. And when he was alive, he actually used to enforce the curfew at the hotel. So he would be the one that would close down the concert hall, and he would close down like the ballroom and stuff. And then he would make sure that everybody is in their hotel rooms or whatever. His spirit is most active after 11 p.m., which just so happens to be the curfew that he had enforced. So if you go into the concert hall after 11 p.m., you will find Paul in there sometimes. And you will hear Paul say, "Get out!" Now, some say they've actually also been pushed out of the concert hall by something. Like they'll go in and they'll feel this force that pushes them back out. So it is believed that it is Paul making sure that nobody's coming in the concert hall after 11 p.m. Now, also, there have been reports of hearing a piano being played even when no one is there. Now, Flora Stanley was a pianist, and she did play the piano in the concert hall as well. Now, ghost hunters have specifically stayed in this room because it's been the most active, right? It's one of the most active places in the hotel. And they have reported feeling a drop in temperature, which is always a sign. They've also heard whispers in the hall, and the whispers say, "Encore, encore." Like, somebody playing music or like encore, encore. So they'll hear that. There's also another male ghost that has been reported in this concert hall. However, he is loud and aggressive. He like bangs on things, and he's not a nice ghost. And tour guides actually have said that this is Edward. And they said Edward and Paul both together had worked at the hotel, but they said Edward was never a fan of people in real life. Edward's my kind of guy.
I'm like, you would be Edward.
Edward's my kind of guy. Like, I feel you, brother.
You'd be pushing people off pirates.
I would. I'll be dunking every little fucking asshole kid into the water.
Stands up.
That stands up. Now, there are also reports of a ghost named Lucy who haunts the halls of the Stanley Hotel. Now, Lucy was found in the basement while she was still alive. So back in the day, they found Lucy in the basement, and she was a small young girl, and she was found in the basement. And the staff members are the ones who found her because, remember, they would go into the basement to get away from guests. And instead of being like normal people and being like, why is this little girl here? They threw her out of the hotel, and she froze to death outside. And it is said that she still walks the halls to this day. there was actually a guest who had taken a picture. So there's tours you can take of this hotel. And this guest had taken a tour and they took a picture in one of the areas, and it's got people, right? They're all kind of together. Like everybody's kind of on this tour together. So this guest takes the picture. They look at the picture later and they see that there's a girl in a hot pink dress, like in this picture. And the person that took the picture was like, I don't remember a younger girl in a hot pink dress in my group of the tour guide, like with the tours. So they start showing the picture to people in the hotel, and not one person can ever remember seeing that girl in the group. Not one person can remember the hot pink dress in particular because it was very bright. And that she's in the picture, but nobody knows who she is. And she's a younger girl. And she's, again, it's kind of reminds me of, if you've ever seen Schindler's List, there's that, the movie's in black and white, but there's that one little girl that's in the red coat. That's like her hot pink dress stood out like that, to where they're like, well, you would have recognized this hot pink dress in our tour at some point. And she was never in it, but she was in this picture. Now, room 407 is another room that has reportedly been haunted. And this room has an Irishman who is a fairly angry ghost. And he will sit and watch people from the corner of the room, which also is creepy. And he will flicker the lights. And then he will sometimes pull your hair. And it has also been reported that he has taken valuables from men. Like, for instance, there was a couple that was staying in the hotel. The husband had gone into the bathroom, had taken his wedding ring off, was doing whatever he was doing. And he literally watched his wedding ring come off the counter and go down the drain.
Oh, that's just fucked up.
Because this goddamn Irishman ghost hates people, apparently. Now, there's also something called the vortex. Now, this is a hot spot in the hotel. So the vortex is the hotel's main staircase. And this actually connects the hotel lobby to the second floor suites. There have been reports of muffled chatter, clinking glasses. They also can hear jazz music coming all the way from the ballroom after it's closed for the night. So all these things. So again, there's different areas of this hotel that are very haunted. Here's another fun fact. So the Shining movie, which I've referenced multiple times, this was not actually filmed at the Stanley Hotel. So that is where Stephen King got his idea to write The Shining. But when it came to the movie was not filmed.
You don't ever record the movie that you're talking about, basically a haunting.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, think about Shawshank Redemption. It was filmed at the one prison, in that haunted ass prison.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but
so basically, well, I think there was so what I kind of read was that Stephen King was not happy with the movie version that they made. He did not like how they did it. He wanted to create his own movie, and he wanted to film it at the Stanley Hotel, because why wouldn't you? That's literally the place where it came from.
I've never understood why authors aren't part of the movie making process.
Well, because they sell the rights to their books, and so a lot of the times you can go in there, but if you sell the rights to your books to be made into movie, you kind of lose.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if I was an author and
you would my book
you
would
to be
want
a movie,
it.
like,
you would want to have creative,
right? Because I
control.
can imagine what I was writing,
right,
and I want that to show, because then other people are going to be like, yes, that's what I imagine.
However, if you're the person who wrote the book, my guess would be you probably want a lot of the details of your book in there, and unfortunately you just can't. This is why books always are better to read before you watch a movie, because they normally keep a bunch of it. I mean, Harry Potter in particular. Harry Potter books are so big. They left out a lot of pieces of Harry Potter. Had J.K. Rowling been completely involved in everything, I mean, I think she was kind of involved, but had she been involved in the whole entire thing, I'm sure the movies themselves are already like 2.5, 3 hours. It would have been even longer, because you want so much of as the writer, you want all of the pieces that you wrote to come together. So you got to have like creative control, but giving creative control to the author probably just means longer movies. So yeah, so my gist and the vibe that I get is that Stephen King was not happy with it, probably and partially because it wasn't filmed at the Stanley Hotel. It was actually filmed at a studio. Most of the Shining was filmed at the studio. However, the exterior scenes, the scenes that are outside of the hotel, were actually filmed at Timberline Lodge in Mount Hood, Oregon.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So when you see the outside of the hotel, it does kind of look similar, to be honest. It does kind of look similar to the Stanley Hotel. But even the outside parts, I don't know why they couldn't go to Ohio or to Colorado and just film the outside scenes at the Stanley Hotel so that it was the actual hotel. But whatever. Now, you can stay at the Stanley Hotel. However, when I looked it up, I'm going to be very truthful and honest with you. I found that they have a 3.6 out of 5 stars. Now, the claims are that the rooms are out of date. It's really pricey. They have very mixed reviews on the cleanliness. They have also mixed reviews on the service. A lot of the people consider the service to be inconsistent. And they have very limited amenities like no air conditioning. So take that information and do what you will with it. Now, my question is, would you stay here?
No.
Well, why would you not stay here?
Because the bad reviews.
I was just going to say, for
it's
me,
just the bad reviews.
I'm not going to
I'm
stay
not staying
at
a fucking
this
hotel that doesn't have AC. Are you bullshitting
That's
me?
exactly. So
It's
I am not
2025.
going to stay in a hotel because I am a hotel snob. And I do not like older, outdated hotels.
Hello. When
And
we
I-
went to Disneyland 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Last year, whatever. When we went to Disneyland, the fucking hotel that we had booked, Sierra was looking at the hotel and saw one review that was like pretty much one of the only, well, not the only, there were multiple, but like it was one of the only bad reviews that was like a recent one, and it said bed bugs, and we switched our fucking hotels.
Well, who's going to stay at a hotel that has bed bugs? If there's
People
anything
still
that's...
did.
No, I mean, no. Well, yeah, people still stayed there, but they probably didn't know they had bed bugs. Like, I'm not going to stay somewhere that has bed bugs in a hotel room. But my problem is I need a hotel with air conditioning, and I need to stay in a hotel that I don't feel like it's dirty. Now, I understand that being older and outdated does not mean dirty, but to me it does. So when I go to a hotel, if it's older and outdated, I'm like really grossed out by it. So I'm not staying there for those reasons. It's not because of the ghosts. Because to be honest with you, had they had better reviews, I might be willing to stay in that hotel, because none of the ghosts, other than 2, none of them seem like they're not bad, right? Like it's not demons, right? Not demons, not evil. They're just spirits, and they're just ghosts. And I would think it would be lovely. I think it would be very lovely to meet the cowboy. Like he just sounds like a pleasant ghost to get to know, right? So I would probably be willing to do it, but that 3.6 stars, listen, I don't stay at a hotel that's 4 stars or less. Because like I said, I'm a hotel snob. I will look up a hotel, and if they have anything less than a 4, I'm not staying there. I'm not staying there. I just have a problem with it. I don't know why, because a 3 star is like average, right? 5 is like superior. 3 stars average. To me, 3 star means dirty, gross, and nasty.
Jesus.
It's true. So my question to all of you out there, are any of you going to stay at the Stanley Hotel? Or have you stayed at the Stanley Hotel? Because like I said, the other thing is they do say it's very expensive for what you get. The hotel itself actually does look real. I saw the photos. It does look really nice. And it does look peaceful. But I mean.
Not at the cost of a 3.6 star.
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing. In the movie, The Shining, towards the end of the movie, there is a maze, like it's a maze made out of, I don't know like a labyrinth, right? Like a labyrinth maze made out of bushes.
Oh, yeah.
And in the movie, towards the end of the movie, they're out there and they're running around. He's like, the main guy, Jack Nicholson, is like chasing his family out there. And that maze did not exist at the Stanley Hotel. They now have that labyrinth. They added it after The Shining. So this has definitely become a destination for people who like the movie The Shining. People know that this is what inspired The Shining. They know this is what inspired Stephen King. So people go there for that. And one other fun fact that I wasn't going to tell you, but I'm just going to now. There was a report that I read that Jim Carrey actually stayed at the Stanley Hotel as well. And that Jim Carrey stayed in room 217 as well. And that Jim Carrey got up in the middle of the night, ran from the room, grabbed his stuff, and never went back. And when he was asked about it, he refuses to talk about it. So take that for what you will. My guess is Elizabeth didn't like him. And she said, "Get out, you bachelor." Right? Because she didn't take kindly to unmarried people, and she didn't take kindly to bachelors. She didn't like them. She only liked married couples to be in that room. So whatever that is, whatever. Maybe I should send your brother there. I'll send your brother to room 217. He can have a little conversation with Elizabeth because your brother is very sweet. He's a very sweet individual, so nobody can dislike him. That's not true. I can dislike him a lot. Anyways, that is the story of the Stanley Hotel. So if you like what you hear, if you like what we're talking about, please make sure you're following us. If you're not following us, just click that plus button or the follow button. Like us, share us, comment on some of our stuff. Let us know how you feel. Other than that, I don't have much else to say other than thank you so much for listening to us talk about the Stanley Hotel, the hotel that inspired Stephen King to write The Shining. Until next week, catch you on the flip side, bitches.
Bye, bitches.